ago, my dream came true, essentially. And me and my fiance and our friend, Elena Kanagi-Laux, and her husband, Brooke, were we did a 3-week whirlwind tour throughout all of Bulgaria and Romania. Elena is a lace historian, incredible.
Yeah.
Everybody should follow her.
Really
Absolutely amazing, incredible history of lace and women's work and all of these things. And so was incredibly lucky to go with her because she knows all of these intricate histories of textiles and everything. So we did everything. We ate a lot of food. We went to monasteries, beautiful, incredibly, all of these facades. We met a lot of cats. We went to the Mary Cemetery, of course. We saw lots of mountains. I could talk about it forever, but it was, of course, it was magical.
That sound means somebody said cemetery, which means we need to take a quick pause for a moment and talk about the Mary Cemetery. It is a place that I have never been, but Isa is going to tell us a little bit more about it, including her visit shortly. So I just wanted to take a quick moment to give a shout out to cemeteries in general. I love cemeteries. During the pandemic, we went to cemeteries quite often. They were peaceful, they were calm, they were beautiful, full of history. Nobody was there. I love going to cemeteries. I once sat next to a guy in a bar, and he was from Boston. And I asked him, I've never been to Boston. Where should I go? And please don't give me any touristy places. Where should I go in Boston? Somewhere like a cemetery. He looked at me. He said, that's an interesting question. Not sure if he was being just polite or thought I was very, very strange. He finished his meal. I forget what he said. He left. And that was that. That is how much I love cemeteries. For those of you watching on YouTube, I'm going to play some scenes from the Mary Cemetery while I regale a bit about the Mary Cemetery. And if you're just listening, close your eyes and picture the most beautiful cemetery in the world. Stan Ioan Putras was born in Suputra in 1908. For over 40 years, he carved some of the most iconic crosses with some of the most clever poems for those seeking their final resting place in this small Romanian village. At the age of 14, he had already begun carving crosses for another local cemetery. 10 years later, Putras had begun carving what would become the over 800 wooden crosses that tell the life stories, sometimes dirty little secrets, and final moments of the people who lay there. Not only would they include a poem or limerick, his work often included in the image the way in which the individual had died, like soldiers being beheaded or a townsperson being hit by a truck. Straight to the point, and not what you would typically see at a cemetery in your local neighborhood, these humorous works of art, folk art masterpieces, were more than meets the eye, as Putras developed his own symbolism in each of these brightly colored works. Per Atlas Obscura, green represented life, yellow represented fertility, red for the passion, black for death. The colors were always set against a deep blue known as Suputra blue, which Putras believed represented hope, freedom, and the sky. Other symbolism, the white doves for the soul, a blackbird to represent a tragic or suspicious death, worked their way onto the crosses, as did Putras' dark sense of humor. It wasn't until the near end of his life, in the early 1970s, that the Mary Cemetery was discovered by foreigners. A French journalist came to visit, and soon word quickly spread. Soon after Stan Ioan Putras died in 1977, his house was converted to a memorial museum. His cross was painted by two of his own apprentices, and people started flocking all over to this Romanian village to be reminded about the absurdity of life and that sometimes death can be both a humorous and a beautiful thing. Stay tuned for Isa's story about her visit to the Mary Cemetery. Now back to the show.
Okay, so the Mary Cemetery is, for those of you that don't know, it is like I feel so lucky right now. It's sort of like a mecca for people like Adam and me who are
Yes.
just obsessed with like what is generally, art environments
Where
where
people are
some
like, let's go to Paris, let's go to the Louvre. And I'm like, no, I want to go to
no.
Romania for the Mary Cemetery. Are you
I want to
kidding
go
me?
to a graveyard in rural
Yeah,
Romania.
exactly.
What?
Exactly.
So it is the graves in, this is from an area in northern Romania where a lot of things are made out of wood, very, very dense forests, very good wood, old growth wood. And so you have a lot of beautiful wood carving traditions. A lot of the graves in this area are, wood chipped. They're made out of basically like a cross shape, but these beautiful, intricate ornamental designs that are carved into them. And about 100 years ago,
Yeah.
this guy named Stan, I'm sorry if I pronounced his name wrong a little bit, Stan Jon Patrash, decided to start painting them in these sort of riotous colors and start telling people's life stories on each individual grave. So they are painted generally bright blue, yellow, green, red. They have these beautiful, of course, ornamental patterns down the sides and the middle, but each one is carved with a picture of that person in their life. So often it is their job of what was their, if they were a spinner, if they spun wool, if they like to sing with other people, or, are they a farmer? Sometimes it was just their favorite thing to do. So you have people who are just drinking with their friends. And then sometimes it's how they died. So it's like you see, he's this
I
like,
believe there's one about like the car crash that the person,
yeah.
was
There's like a
involved.
couple car crashes where he's like, it's like, that is the yellow taxi that ran over this person. And then each one has a poem written on below it, which is in a local dialect. So if you try to like use Google Translate to translate them, it's not going to work because it's in like a very specific
Perfect.
local Romanian dialect. These like they're like poems. They're kind of read like haikus. But they're like, one of them goes, underneath this heavy cross lies my poor mother-in-law. Try not to wake her up, for if she comes back home, she'll bite my head off. So, and they're often with these like very jokey sort of things. And so what a lot of people miss if you go to the Mary Cemetery, it's also lots of shops. You can get like clothing and all these great things around there. If you go around the corner, there is a house museum for Stan Jon Patrash, which is where he lived. You get to see his studio, this crazy, basically his bedroom that he obviously also just filled with pieces of art and decorated and painted every single corner of the wall. It's crazy. But started talking with the woman there, and it turns out she is the wife of the man who now has inherited the project of making these grave markers. And so her name is Anna Marie, and she, we started talking for a while, and then she showed me technically this was my favorite part because I love seeing just like work in progress. And she brought me back to see her husband working, and he was in the middle of carving a new piece of wood. We got to meet her mother, his mother, who paints everyone individually. They have dogs, their kids running around, and a new group of kittens that we got to meet at the same time. So a mama cat
awesome.
with her litter. It was really wonderful. But yeah, so basically, Patrash began making these graves, taught the guy who's making them now is the son of the best apprentice of the original guy.
Oh.
And so basically just took this up. It's much more common in Romania. Folk culture is very, very alive in Romania. And it is like very much a part of everyday people's lives. And one of the crazy things about the Mary Cemetery, and I didn't notice when I went there, I was like taking a selfie. I was like, oh, I shouldn't smile because it's like a very serious cemetery. It's like, no, this is a happy place.
Yeah.
Like this is like specifically, and she was telling us, this is crazy, but she was telling us the reason they believe that they do this is because in ancient Dacia, so this is like the ancient Roman version of the Romanians, they were like very, very rich, powerful empire that for a long time the Romans couldn't conquer because they had so much gold and they were really rich and actually pretty powerful. And according to her, the Dacians believed that death was freedom. Like a lot of, some Christians today, but like in a very intense way. It was like, no, life is suffering and death is freedom. And for a lot of Romanians today, it continues that way. And so the Mary Cemetery is literally a place to like laugh and like, we're glad that person is dead in a way, because I'm not even exaggerating, because they get to be free from life, because life is suffering. And honestly, if you look at Romanian history from especially the last 100 years, I get it. I mean, like it just sucks. Like things are a little bit less shitty now than they used to be, but like, man, Romania's been through it. So you kind of get it. Of course, people are sad and people die, but like I'll tell you but I do get it where it's like from a family, like my grandmother has had her grave plot picked out and paid for since she was in her 20s.
Whoa.
Yeah. So it's like people prepare for death like their entire lives.
Yeah.
So it's like Mary Cemetery. It's like no other place in the world, but it's also intensely Romanian.